Today is June 27th, Thursday. Welcome to Township of Chatham Township Committee meeting. Now I call this meeting to order. Greg, the adequate notice was given.
Yes, adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act as follows. Notice was given to both the Chatham Courier and the Morris County Daily Record on January 4th, 2019. Notice was posted on the bulletin board in the main hallway of the municipal building on January 4th, 2019, and notice was filed with the Township Clerk on January 4th, 2019.
Thank you, Greg. And now we have two Chatham Township Police Department officers to be here, and they will lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance, and they are Colin Dougherty and Brian Kelly. Are they here? They are here. Come to the microphone and lead us with the flag salute, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Brian and Colin. Before we get to the roll call, just a few days ago, we have been devastated with the following news on the paper. And I'm going to read it for you. He always wanted to serve to his country. New Jersey man serving in the Navy killed in Afghanistan. And I'm going to continue to read. A Midland Park, a town in Bergen County. Man who dreamed of serving his country was killed less than 3 weeks after arriving to Afghanistan. Kevin Yalley, 27 years old, was killed by a mortar shell in Afghanistan on June 19th. He served in the U.S. Navy and had been deployed 4 times. His friends said he was a true family man. He was a good man. He really cared about everyone, and he was very dedicated to anything he put his heart into. One of his friends continued to say, in high school, Yalley was passionate about all sports, especially wrestling, and attended a mission trip to Ireland. But he always knew he wanted to serve his country, she said. Kevin Yalley, thank you for your service and your sacrifice. May you rest in peace, and may God bless and comfort your family now and forever. I'd like to take a moment of silence to pay respect to Kevin Yalley and all who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Please stand up and have a moment of silence. Thank you. Greg, roll call, please.
Mrs. Ness?
Here.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Here.
Mr. Ritter is absent. Deputy Mayor Kelly?
Here.
Mayor Slin?
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you, Greg. And now the next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as is?
I would like to remove the fertilization and maintenance of fields resolution 2019-131 so that we can have a discussion on that.
Okay. Thank you, Tracy. Anything else? Any other things about the agenda? All right, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Anybody second it?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have the agenda approved. Now, Colin and Brian led us with the Pledge of Allegiance. Now we're going to do the oath of office for each of the officers. And I will first read their bios. And I'm going to start with Colin. Actually, I'm sorry, agenda Brian. I'll start with Brian. Brian Kelly is originally from Hopatcong, New Jersey, and he currently resides in Tewksbury, New Jersey, with his wife, Megan, and their 2 daughters, Amelia and Audrey. He earned his associate's degree in business management from the County College of Morris in 2008. After graduating from the County College of Morris, Brian enlisted in the Air Force in 2009, where he specialized in military intelligence. In 2012, Brian graduated from the University of Phoenix with a bachelor's degree in business. In 2013, Brian transitioned from active duty Air Force to the active reserves. He is currently a technical sergeant working as an in-flight refueling instructor and cargo load master. Brian has served in support of Operations Iraqi Freedom, Operations Enduring Freedom, Operation Inherent Resolve, and Operation Freedom Sentinel. Starting in January, Brian entered the Morris County Police Academy, where he graduated in June near the top of his class. Good job, Brian. Now we're going to do, I'm going to administer the oath, and I'm going to invite Brian here if you have family with you or someone who would like you to be with you. And who's going to hold? Okay. Chief, you do that. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to read. Yeah, raise your right hand and put your other hand on the Bible. I state your name,
I, Brian Kelly,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same
and to the government established
and to the government established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of the office
all the duties of the office
of police officer
of police officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Let's do some, don't go, Brian, we're going to do some photo. Committee members, would you please join us?
Congratulations. Awesome. Really great. Welcome aboard.
I have a son, Brian Kelly, so you know.
It's the same son. Not that we don't have Brian Kelly everywhere.
Okay, with your colleagues, do we want to do it now or do we want to do it
Why
after?
don't you do,
Let's do
why
it.
don't you do,
Group photo with both of them.
Both of them, okay, not now, so let's finish column, then we'll do all together.
Good.
Okay, good. Again, good. All right, next officer is Colin Dougherty. Colin was born and raised in Summit, New Jersey. He attended Summit High School, where he excelled as a student athlete, being captain of both the football and wrestling team. After graduating high school, Colin attended Gettysburg College, where he majored in economics and political science and played on the college football team. Colin participated in an internship with the New Jersey State Police, where he worked with the Interstate Theft Unit. He graduated cum laude from Gettysburg College in 2018. Prior to being hired, Colin was hired by the City of Summit, where he worked as a parking enforcement officer. Colin entered the police academy in January 2019 and graduated in June, near the top of his class. Thank you. So both graduated near the top of your classes. Which one was nearest? We don't know. Okay, let's do the oath of office. That's perfect. And you can. I state your name.
I, Colin Doherty,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of the office
all of the duties of the office
of police officer
of police officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Committee members, if you would like to join.
The chief,
And Chief.
did you want to take pictures first with the family?
Don't you want? Congratulations. So, congratulations.
Now, with everyone, with all the officers, retired department, and committee members as
Yeah, I'll stand in. I'm gonna take the edge. You're letting in good detectives, that's all. You agree.
Pass it next to me to make me look good.
Lean all the way forward.
And so the fun begins.
Cool. You good? Okay.
Gentlemen,
All right, so we're going to move forward with the agenda, and we have now reports. And I'll start with the committee. Karen, any reports?
Yes, thank you. I'll try and keep it brief. Regarding our utility business lately, I will keep it brief because we have our new district representative here in the building. So we're so happy to know that Rob Walton has been replaced by more than adequate coverage. So thank you for being with us. We've had a couple of concerns about the structures that are being built underneath some of our monopoles in the right-of-way of PSE&G. So I have been in touch with our district rep for PSE&G to see whether there can be something done about asking them to be covered with some appropriate-looking screening, some arborvitae, or some sorts of anything. Of course, PSE&G is loath to put anything more than 4 feet high in their right-of-way, but these structures are a little bit obtrusive, so we're working with them on that. As far as our Department of Public Works, et cetera, we have had many conversations lately about the bathrooms at our recreation fields. I know this will be going on for quite some time, but we are having the conversations about what to do, making sure that our parent representatives are aware that they are empowered to open the bathrooms while their teams are playing. They know where the keys are, and it's up to them to provide access for the comfort of our players, parents, and visitors. We've also begun discussions on some attention we have to pay to our public spaces, our mini parks. What's the word we call them?
Pocket parks?
Pocket parks, right?
Also our rights of way.
Yes, and to see what we can do about that. Specifically brought to my attention was the park at Shunpike Playing Field behind Castle Park. The Chatham Baseball Families and Chatham Athletic Foundation spent an awful lot of time, effort, energy, and financial attention to making sure that park at the time was really a little bit of a showpiece, and it seems to have fallen into disrepair. So we are, thank you to the citizens who have brought it to our attention. We're going to get to work on how to make that look a little bit more, as I call it, a silent ambassador to our community. That's pretty much what I have.
Thank you, Karen. Tracy, anything?
Of course. We've been meeting nonstop. The Environmental Commission tonight is going to do a presentation on plastics, so I'm not going to waste time on that. Amy Mason and I from the Environmental Commission also met with an energy aggregator company, and we'll be reporting on that later as they go through the presentation. This is an idea of finding savings for our residents in their energy bills, as well as using green energy as a larger percentage of our bills. It's questionable, it depends on what time you bid it out and as to whether you get the savings, but it's a free option to us. It doesn't cost us anything, so we're pursuing that. From a recreation standpoint, Karen spoke about the bathroom issue that has cropped up, the porta potty issue that's cropped up. Spoke with Bob today. The porta potty is going to be cleaned twice a week and maintained properly, and we are having ongoing discussions about the community portion of this for the Castle Park people, as well as our players who play on the athletic fields. So that's an ongoing discussion. And I did get good news from Bob that we can line the courts for pickleball. So 2 of the tennis courts will be lined for pickleball. I'll let you know when that date happens, but we've had some interest expressed from a variety of people who are taking the pickleball craze to the next level, and we're hoping that maybe we can get some more usage on our tennis courts. So that's going to be a very fun ad. I'm actually looking forward to doing that. We've set up a meeting with the school district while we're talking about the tennis courts on Monday to talk about the joint responsibilities that we have as we provide the tennis courts for the high school, and looking to see how we can work together to get back on track with those courts and get them refinished and back in what we would consider better or acceptable or better than acceptable condition. The committee got the go-ahead from Bob to move forward with our communications and our websites. So the communications committee met today. Our chief left. So our chief is going to proceed with the police website, so he's very excited to get started in doing that. And we knocked around some ideas for that. And I'm going to be putting together a standard page content to deliver to all the department heads and our advisory committees so that we can get all the information up to date and the correct information and some better ease of use navigability for the web page. And we're beginning that, well, we started that today. So hopefully by August 1st, we'll have some content in and we can go forward with updating that. We also received a model ordinance from Albert, thank you very much for doing that, on communications procedures that are specific to governments, local governments. Apparently it's quite the hot topic. So I wanted to operate off of a model ordinance that was presented as being a strong and a good ordinance, and we'll go through that, and we hopefully will have something for the July 18th meeting. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Tracy. And Mike,
We're gonna
any,
do the skate park.
Okay.
anything, Mike?
Okay. Yes. Regarding the skate park, certainly it's an ongoing focus of attention. People here at the meetings, on the website, and certainly on TV. And just an update of a couple of areas of progress that we've made. I think the big question has always been, is the existing equipment there at the skate park movable? Can it be relocated? Because I think that we've talked all along about relocating the skate park, and I think that that means different things to different people. We're still trying to get a definitive answer, but I think that the preliminary answers are helpful, and I just wanted to share what we found. Rich Young and the DPW has been responsible for maintaining that skate park, and those of you who use it know that it does need maintenance from time to time. Roughly every year or so, there's major repairs that need to be done there. And Rich reached out this week to the original manufacturer for that, the name of True Ride, based in Duluth, Minnesota. Our skate park is 16 years old. It was installed in 2003. And their estimate is that that kind of equipment that's being used there has a life expectancy of about 15 to 20 years. So it is in the final years of its expected life expectancy. That can depend on how well it's maintained, how heavily it's used, the weather in different parts of the country. So there is some variation on the exact life expectancy, but I think that looking at the numbers and at our track record of repairs that are needed, I think it's safe to conclude that it is closer to the end of its life expectancy, certainly, than it is to the beginning. And that if it was relocated somewhere, it would certainly need a lot of tender loving care, at least as much as we're giving it now with yearly repairs, and very possibly more after that kind of a relocation. Rich and the DPW has also been in contact with a local construction firm that works with True Ride, the original manufacturer, and they are willing to work with Rich and with us to get a more specific diagnosis for our equipment. They're happy to work from photographs and schedule a site visit to really give us a sense for the continued life expectancy of what we have. So that's where we are on that. I think we're still looking forward to a more professional and final opinion, but I think the initial reports are that the equipment is not expected to last much longer than it has already lasted for us. So I think that we'll get those answers. We will continue to further research. We're trying to identify sites. We know that there's been interest in other towns about sites in their towns. I think that what we're expecting is that this will require a community-wide effort. If the interest is really widespread and serious, we are going to be looking for a community organization similar to what existed at the original installation to really get behind this and in terms of support, fundraising, and those kinds of efforts. So just to get that word out there that we are moving forward, and we're looking for people who are interested and motivated to be talking among themselves and starting to get organized. So that's kind of a progress report, Mayor, but not a final answer to a lot of the questions that people have.
Do you mind if I ask a question, Mike?
Sure.
Have we started even kind of back of the envelope notions about where the original funding came from, how much it did cost, what the other, in my many years of visiting the League of Municipalities conventions, there's no shortage of playground equipment companies that come down to advertise their products for municipal recreational use. Speaking of tennis courts and things along those lines, there's absolutely a proliferation of people who do these sorts of things, and surfaces and all of that. And obviously it wouldn't be incumbent upon Chatham Township solely to do, as you said, putting together a coalition, right? Not only just for the planning, but also making sure the financial burden gets...
Yes, I think that's part of the message that needs to go out is that I think that this is a regional facility and needs a regional support. And I think that we've had speakers here over the months that have given us some numbers about the cost of new skate parks. I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, but the original manufacturer did tell us that while they support customers that they have previously had, such as ourselves, and we can, through a fair amount of difficulty, order replacement parts to be shipped to us from Duluth, Minnesota. They are no longer installing this kind of a facility. A wood and it's called skate light is the curved surface. They now are totally committed to construct concrete in-ground skate parks. So the comparison of the cost to what we have now would be a very apples to oranges type of comparison.
Thank you.
I have a question too, Mike. I noticed the cones around the part of the existing skate park, and there was some damage done where something went straight through the deck of it.
Yes.
Can you speak to that, or maybe Rich, if you have any information on that, or
Well,
Bob, or
yeah, I can also speak to that because
anybody?
the center piece there had some damage. There was two holes in it, so when I went over and I looked at it, it was unsafe. It needed to be closed. It had been there for a while. There had been some acts of vandalism, I would say, just from looking at it, and people were storing some containers of soda and iced tea and things like that in there. But yeah, it was unsafe. It needs to be fixed, and that's why it was coned off. And we didn't want to close the whole park down, but we wanted to make sure that nobody used that center jump area, because when I was there looking at it, people were using that center jump area.
Thank you, Bob. And yes, that's the kind of significant repair work that's needed on an annual basis.
Right.
Okay, great. Continue with the reports. John, anything from you?
Just one item, Mayor. Just an update on the Safe Routes to Schools grant for Lafayette Road. I did get a call from the DOT's consultant, and the DOT is requesting that we hold a public hearing on the sidewalk project as part of the environmental review. So just bringing it to the committee's attention, because here we are, it's almost July, and we try not to have public meetings in July and August, but yet I don't want to delay this until September. So it is a meeting I need to coordinate with Bob, and they weren't clear to me regarding the notification requirements. They just came out and said, oh, you need to notify everyone within 300 feet, and I questioned that, and where is that coming from, and on the regulations, and they couldn't answer if that needed to be certified or not. So I'm still waiting for some feedback from the DOT regarding exactly how this public notification has to go out, but nevertheless, we do have to have a public hearing, and again, just concerns regarding July, August timeframe, if the committee has any feedback on that, so we can schedule that meeting.
Okay. Thank
When
you.
is our meeting in August?
So it does not have to be with a committee.
I would think you probably wouldn't want to
Yeah,
do it during committee meetings,
Yeah, 'cause
because it would be cumbersome.
Yeah, my experience is that we have it separate from the
A
committee
separate
meeting,
hearing.
and so that, the boards are on this, so I can have separate conversation with residents, we can give a brief introduction, questions, and then, personal, discussions with people's individual properties.
Okay.
if they require.
All right.
So it would be a separate meeting, and.
I mean,
so-
generally from the third week of July to the second week of August.
Ghost town.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Tumbleweeds.
We'll take it offline and we'll schedule it. So,
Okay.
all right. Bob?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are several items to report. The August meeting is on August 15th, Township Committee meeting. The Township Committee received an email with a copy of a letter. The Township had applied for a grant for sidewalk improvements on Fairmont Avenue between Southern Boulevard and Runnymede. That was a $900,000 grant application, and we received notification that the grant application had been denied. So the township engineer and I will take a look at that stretch of road, because there were two properties that had some significant work that was required, and it was anticipated that the use of this money to help reconstruct the sidewalks would solve some of those problems. So we will regroup and take a look and see what can be done. On tonight's agenda, there's a resolution for refunds for two members of the Colony Pool Club. That's on the agenda because these are two families that had requested using a form of flotation devices that are not allowed at the pool. In previous years, the list of devices that were prohibited had been on our community pass site, and they weren't on it this year, so it's back up, but we're recommending that both families receive a refund. I also had thought about our last meeting with the public, the hearing of citizens, and I wanted to reflect on that and make a couple of comments. We are, as residents and citizens of this country, we're entitled to make public comment. We're entitled to talk about procedures and processes and policies and the price of items and the performance of goods or the equipment. And that is something that we all have a right to do and bring to the attention of our township committee. What we don't have a right to do, and we should not do in a civilized society, is to attack personalities, to make accusations about people that are not there to defend themselves. So I know that this happens very, very infrequently, but I want to make sure that we all understand, talk about the 5 Ps, but if anybody wants to talk about people, they need to talk to me, and they need to talk to me offline. I will not condone attacks on our staff, particularly if it's not called for. And I will not condone accusations about former employees who are not here to defend themselves. So I know that it was a statistical blip last time, but to be successful in the long run, we all have to be civil. And that's basically what I wanted to say, that we can make comments, but keep it professional, keep it to the processes, and don't make it personal. And last time, there was a couple things that were personal, and I will step in the future. So enough said about that. We've talked about the bathrooms at Shunpike and some of the issues that have come forward. And there are good issues that have been surfaced, and we will take a look at them and look at the long-term problems and resolve them. But all of this comes back to the point that in the past, our bathrooms had been open, and there have been acts of vandalism, and it had cost lots of money to fix. That's not a sophisticated way of saying it, but there was repairs that had to be done. We need to find the right thing to do, and everybody needs to participate in the solution. So that's being worked on. The township and 4 of our sister communities participate in a joint court which is headquartered in Madison. The long-serving court administrator there is retiring on July 25th, so all of the participating municipalities have been asked to help interview candidates for the next to succeed the current court administrator, who has done a very, very good job there during the 8 years that we've had the joint court. So that's something that the Township Committee will be informed on. There were 5 interviews that were conducted yesterday. I participated in the process, and we have several good candidates to look at, so that's good.
Our current court administrator has been there for decades. Am I right? I think it's over 20 years. So there's a lot of institutional knowledge that is going to be irreplaceable. It's so important to make sure that the right candidate is chosen.
That is correct. The good news is that the judge will be staying, and that there will be a loss of institutional knowledge, but there are qualified people that are also there supporting the judge, and then whoever is going to be selected as the next joint municipal court administrator. One of our interns, Kara McCaffrey, who received an internship she received college credit to work with us, completed her internship yesterday, and she was specializing in recycling issues, and she did a wonderful job. So I wanted to publicly thank her for the 90+ hours that she put in and the college credit that she will earn. She did a wonderful job for us, helping us to identify issues that need to be looked at in the future. And one of the things that was eye-opening for Kara, as well as other members of the staff, is that our DPW, they do everything, but when you quantify everything, there are at least 86 specific items that the DPW does on a yearly basis. Some of those are daily, some are weekly, some are seasonal, and then some are just, seasonal would be snow plowing too, but 86 items. And we've probably missed some, but they're the jack of all trades. And if the DPW hasn't been there, the emergency services squad and the fire department and the police can't get there. So this is just identifying what they do and making sure that we have the right resources for those 86 items. And the DPW is also preparing a map townwide. Committeewoman Schwartz had touched on it. We're preparing a map of all of our parks, easements, and other areas where where the DPW maintains that particular area. And our goal is to identify where we can raffle off, if you will, some of those parcels so that they can be taken care of as community gardens or by community groups or by local businesses. And then we would have a sign from Clean Communities that would say, this spot is maintained by whatever the group is. So that'll be something that'll be coming to the Township Committee in August or September. But there's a whole lot of little pocket areas that we maintain. And last but not least, I would like to say that tonight the township engineer and I dined elegantly outdoors. We went to Colony Pool, and we ate at the concession stand, and I was very pleased with dinner. It was great to be outdoors. The food was wonderful. I was disappointed they were out of the steak tip sandwiches, but the food was great. So if anybody wants to go to Colony Pool and see if Bob is really right, go and have dinner there. It was nice. We did get a couple of strange looks being two guys in suits, but it worked. And that's my report.
Thank you. Bob, counsel, Albert? No report, okay. So I'll put you on the spot. Chief, anything from you, or DPW? Do we have anything from Rich? Nothing from any of you? All right, good. All right, excellent, thank you. And my report, I don't have a report, but I want to recognize two of my personal friends in the audience today, and I want to start with Len Resto, our friend from Chatham Borough, who served the public in Chatham Borough on the Chatham Borough Council for many, many years as Chatham Borough Council President, I'm thinking at some point, yes. And so thank you for joining. And also my friend, the mayor of Bernards Township, one of the largest towns in this area, and Carol Bianchi here, and thank you, Carol. And Carol is wearing a different hat today, and she's going to introduce herself, and she has things to say and as well. So now, since I don't have a report other than what I just mentioned, and next item on the agenda is the presentation. Hearing of citizens. Okay, we can do that. We can do that. All right, so we're making a change in the flow of the agenda, and for Carol. And Carol, would you come up to the microphone and introduce yourself and who you are and why you're here tonight?
I promised the mayor you'd be quick.
Thank you very much. I will be quick. I am just here to introduce myself as your new representative from JCP&L, External Affairs, and I'm very much looking forward to working with all of you, with your administrator, and I passed out some cards to the mayor and to Karen, Ms. Swartz. So please, my number is on there, and feel free to let me know of your utility issues. I know you have a utility liaison who will keep me very well informed. Thank you for letting me speak and introduce myself.
Thank you, Carol. Appreciate it. Thank you for coming.
That's right.
We're looking
And
forward to working with Carol.
Carol will be our go-to when the lights go out. So we'll know exactly where to direct our inquiries. Thanks for coming, Your Honor. Okay.
And one thing that you don't need to know, but Carol's son and my daughter are going to the same college. So this is a little beyond, you know. All right. I'm not telling which college is that. So, presentation by the Environmental Commission. Please, floor is yours. You know the rules.
Can we
You've been
move
here
this
before.
over and use this? Is that all right?
Sure, you can do anything.
And then we have a technical glitch, so I'm going to give copies to you guys. So instead of presenting on the wall, you can follow along. Sorry.
We can share.
And then, Jessica, this would be okay for us to put on the website for
Sure.
residents?
Sure.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, did you need an extra one? Because
No,
we can
no.
share.
No, that's for you.
Oh.
I had multiple copies.
Okay.
Roger? Yeah, I'll email you every document.
So just one question, Greg. The presenter is subject to the same rules of public presentation. It's a 5 minutes, or?
No, this is not hearing of citizens, this is a presentation that's
Okay,
scheduled, so
that
it's
doesn't apply. Okay,
yeah.
perfect. All right. So
however
you're
long you
6
need.
minutes.
So, sorry that we're not projecting, so you guys can't see what we're doing, but like I said, I'll email it to Greg and he'll post it. So we're here, Len is here with me, we're working together, we have a municipal alliance of about 11 towns or so, and we started working together last November, and the thing that brought us together was single-use plastics. So this is our recommendation for local action. So a little bit of history, residents from Chatham Township and surrounding towns, Chatham Township, Borough, Madison, Summit, Roselle Park, Berkeley Heights, New Providence, Livingston, Morris Township, Parsippany, Long Hill Township, Harding, Flemington, and Milburn have been working together. We've been meeting on weekends just to form this alliance. May 16th, we held a regional meeting with ANJAC. Over 100 people were in attendance, including 3 people from our environmental from our Township Committee.
Yeah, and ANJEC is the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions.
And we had former Governor Cody there and people from Mila Tracy's office and Assemblyman McKeon's office. So we've also been doing outreach to local residents and businesses. And what we want to do is seek consistent regional approach that reflects lessons from other efforts, statewide and also nationwide. So learnings from other cities in other states and other states. Just a few facts. Americans use 100 billion plastic bags per year. In New Jersey, we use 4 billion. The average family uses 1,500 per year. 14 plastic bags is the gas required to drive 1 mile. 80% of ocean plastic pollution enters the ocean from land. 100,000 marine animals are killed by plastics annually. A third of leatherback sea turtles have been found with plastic in their stomachs.
And that plastic, I will add, the reason for that is that the turtles mistake the plastic bags for jellyfish, which is their main source of food.
I'm sure you've all seen the images of them floating. Plastic bags are used for an average of 12 minutes. And microplastics have been found in some of New Jersey's most pristine rivers, including the upper Raritan and Passaic rivers, which is where we get our drinking water from. So we are drinking those microplastics. We're also working with the Great Swan, who has been studying the microplastics, especially in our water supplies here. So we talk with them on a regular basis. I was just emailing with them yesterday to find out what their research shows, that they just did a bunch of water samples. So, every day you look at the paper, it's in the paper. It was the cover of the Wall Street Journal this week,
Yes,
I think, cover of the Star-Ledger this week. There's lots of information and articles. Plastics and recycling. Many plastics are not accepted for curbside recycling. I think we're all well aware of what's been going on with recycling the past 2 years, year or two. 1% of plastic bags are actually returned for recycling to the proper facility, which are the boxes outside of ShopRite or Stop and Shop or the Trex boxes. Recycling a ton of plastic bags costs $4,000. The recycled product is worth $32,000. Contamination of recycling with bags and other non-recyclable plastic costs taxpayers and municipalities money. The township can speak to that firsthand. We had a huge bill last year for contaminated recycling. I think it's safe to say that the single-use plastic bags are the bulk of the contamination.
Yeah, I was, in my last year on the council, last year in the borough, we had anticipated a $15,000 revenue item from recycling. Instead, we ended up with a $30,000 bill.
That wasn't all because of contamination, though, was it?
Well, it was contamination. What was happening was...
plunging value of recyclables to begin with.
Yeah, there's a glut of plastics, number one. Number two, because folks were putting plastic bags in the recycling, when it gets into the recycling center, which is up in Mine Hill, and if you've never taken a tour, I would urge you to do it. It's really interesting, but bring a perfume kerchief to put on your nose because it's not for the squeamish. What happens is the air that's below the assembly line, it lifts up plastic bottles and other plastics, lifts up the plastic bags, they blow around, and they get caught in the gears of the machinery and it grinds to a halt. In fact, when the Borough Environmental Commission was there, it ground to a halt that day for an hour and a half as they were picking pieces of plastic out of the gears. And they've had some workers who've been injured because they've had their hand in the gears and they start to go. So it's a combination of that, and also, China was the largest acceptor of these plastics, of paper and cardboard. It was contaminated with plastic, so they allowed 2.5% contamination. That has dropped to 0.5%. And in the presentation I had done on recycling to the Borough Council, it showed a bale of paper and cardboard. You could see plastic bags sticking out of it. At the recycling center, they literally use employees to pick out as much as they can, but there's tons of it inside the bale, and that's the issue.
So in your packets you have there, we walked around, a bunch of us taking pictures of plastics in our community littering our sidewalks, our parks, our lawns. So there's just some snapshots of Chatham there. So plastic ordinance benefits. It greatly reduces one-time bag use. In LA County, it was reduced by 95%. reduce plastic bag litter in storm drain systems by 89%. This was in San Jose. Increased reusable bag use from 4% to 62%, again, San Jose. Reduced plastic grocery bag use by 50% in Chicago. Tripled the number of people who didn't use plastic bags in Chicago. Potential negatives to a plastic bag ordinance. Increase in the use of smaller plastic bags. Some people think if you're going to ban the free plastic bags you get at the grocery store, people are going to make a rush to get out and purchase trash bags to either pick up dog waste or carry things around with. I don't know that the evidence proves that necessarily. Greater use of paper bags or other bags with environmental impacts. Thinner bags simply replaced by thicker bags, which are rarely reused. All of these, though, can be mitigated by a well-crafted ordinance that addresses all of these issues. New Jersey regulatory environment. 2018, the governor vetoed a fee on plastic bags. His reasoning was it wasn't comprehensive enough. He wanted a stronger ordinance and wanted everyone to revisit this. So in 2019, they're introducing a ban on plastic bags, plastic straws, and polystyrene food packing, and a 10-cent fee on paper bags added in committee. Legislation is stalled somewhere in Trenton.
Yeah, it's sitting in committee still to be discussed.
Over 15 New Jersey municipalities have passed ordinances related to plastics pollution. This covers single-use plastic bags, straws, balloons, and styrofoam. And I can send you the list if you like. I have that list. So assessing local opinion, what did we do? We went out and we actually talked to people in the stores, on the streets, and we also put together surveys. You have copies of the residential survey and the business survey in your packets there. So these were promoted in all of the local papers, the Courier, TAP, I think Patch did an article on it, and all over social media. So we got 679 responses. Chatham Township, 193 responses. Chatham Borough, 285. Madison, 154. And about 50 responses from other towns in our group, like Harding, Morris Township, and Summit. So the full results, I'll send you the link. You can see the full results to the residential survey. They're interesting. We recommend that you look at them just to see what people are saying. So I'll send you that link. Business survey is still in progress. And actually, Kara went from business to business in Chatham Township with the approval of Bob and of our police department. And she hand-delivered a letter that's in your packet and the survey. And she went, I can send you the list of stores she went to, and I'll be following up with them personally this weekend. So if you tend to rely on single-use plastic bags, what prevents you from choosing to use recyclable bags? This is one of the questions. Chatham Township residents, reusable bags are too expensive. Only 3% said that, so that's 6 people. I forget to take them with me, 34% or 65 people. I forget to take them with me, I leave them in my home, sorry. The first was leave them in my car. I leave them in my home, 40%. 76 people. I'm concerned about the cleanliness of reusable bags, about 16% or 30 people. Not a problem. I use recyclable bags, 33% or 62 people. Other, 11%, 21 people. Are you concerned about the impact of plastic waste on the environment? 90.63% said yes. 5.7% said no. 3.6% said they weren't sure. So obviously residents in our town are concerned. Another question, what measures would you like to see implemented to reduce single-use plastics in the environment? This should say Chatham Township residents, sorry, I didn't change that. Prohibit single-use plastic bags for groceries or other shopping. 69.47% said they would support that. Prohibit use of styrofoam food containers for carry-out food. 90% said they would support that, although we're not. I mean, we put it on there because we were interested to see what people think, but we're not discussing that with this presentation here. Restrict other plastic items such as plastic straws and stirrers, 78.6%.
And it's interesting on that one point with the stirrers and plastic straws, a good number of businesses have already addressed that. If you go to Starbucks, they're using paper. Drip Coffee has switched over to metal and to paper as well. They may provide plastic if someone asks for it because there's a medical need of some sort, but they're doing the right thing. Which is great to see.
Yep. Require a fee for plastic bags at the store, 67.2% would support that. Require a fee for paper bags, 40.96% would support that. So our recommendations, prohibit single-use plastic bags, carefully define what is a single-use plastic bag. Mandatory fee for other bags, such as paper, because just handing out paper bags at will, that presents a whole nother environmental catastrophe on its own. So we don't want to replace one with the other. Exempt SNAP recipients, the shopkeeper retains revenue from the fees. Continue to study other plastics, such as straws, styrofoam, etc. And we think, based on our learnings from other communities, implementation period is about 6 to 9 months. Along with all of this, there would be bag collection and distribution. We've already started some in the borough. They started doing it at the train stations. We were going to set up collection bins at places like the library and the post office, so that we have a surplus of bags that can be given out to residents who want free reusable bags.
And one of the reasons for an implementation period is to be able to educate not only people but business owners. Also, business owners may have contracts for plastic bags that if they were to cancel those contracts might involve a penalty, so we don't want to see that happen. And we want to be able to have them use the inventory they have and not just do it cold turkey. So, you know, that implementation period, I think, is crucial, and that if you do it regionally, it should coincide with an equal date with the various towns that are involved with this.
And we would also work hard to make sure there was community education and outreach. We would hold, you know, sit and talks about plastic bags. What can you use instead? There's many ways we can touch base with the community. Next steps would be, we're presenting the same presentation in Madison next week. We already did this in Chatham Borough this Monday. So draft an ordinance that we would present to all of you. We're working on a draft ordinance that we think represents the best from towns across New Jersey that have done this, and also other states that have done this. Implementation period of 6 to 9 months, and expand this to the other communities within our alliance.
One of the other things that we're doing in the borough, and we're doing it at the farmers market, is we started a program so if anyone has excess reusable bags that they can bring to the farmers market, then people can take a reusable for free. I was a big contributor because I cleaned out my closets last weekend from my Fat Boy clothes that I donated to the Madison Thrift Shop, and found 101 reusable bags that I just had kind of thrown in the closet and forgotten about. So it was a big donation. I kept 5, donated the rest.
And I want to make a point that where I work in Summit, and I'm the head of the green team for my New Jersey office. And July is plastic free month, so we are going plastic free in my office for July. People hate me. We're taking away all their hint water and their iced teas and stuff, and their coffee stirs and cups that they use, but we're going plastic free in my office for the month of July. So it's not just a town thing, it's happening everywhere. If anyone has questions?
Thank you very much for this presentation. I know that a tremendous amount of work has gone into this over a long period of time. I think having attended that meeting in Madison with so many people and so many towns, and the working circle of people that ended up after that meeting trading ideas. What are you doing? How are you doing it? We want to be a part of it. We want to, I mean, it's, Madison, Summit, Roselle Park, Berkeley Heights, New Providence, Livingston, Harding, Long Hill, Parsippany, Flemington, Milburn. It's really all of our surrounding communities that are all looking at the same way as we move towards some sort of state solution as other states and have. So it's kind of being in the forefront of eliminating this single-use plastic. And it's interesting when you start recognizing, when you go and buy, I just went to CVS and I had to buy some Advil. So I went and I got it, and she put it in the bag, and then I had to think to myself, I am just going to throw this bag away. So I asked not to have the bag. I said, just give me the Advil and I'll put it in my purse. And it's interesting when you start to change your thinking that you really realize that you're going to just walk out of the store with something that you are physically going to hold in your hands for maybe 10 minutes until you get home, you take it out, and then you throw it away. And it is, I don't want to sound like smarmy about this, but it is really kind of an aha moment when you realize, just out of rote behavior, kind of like picking up a water bottle. right? Instead of using like one of these. Or doing something like this, that once you switch over, it just becomes natural. So now I fill this up every day, and now I'm not buying any more, or I haven't been buying any more water bottles for a while. So it's really very interesting when you start to switch your behavior, how quickly you can change that behavior in a positive way, and then you kind of shudder to think, why? No, I don't want that plastic bag. That's going to end up in a storm drain, it's going to end up in a river, it's going to end up in a recycling thing. So I really commend you all for the effort in doing this, and such a growing coalition of people, that this regional approach, I think, is going to be a very strong approach. And I think it's interesting that some of the corporations are also taking this on their own. I believe that Trader Joe's made a significant effort towards eliminating plastic packaging, the clamshell packaging, and moving to all of that. So you're starting to see companies conform with this, growing idea of how horrible these single-use plastics are, and even the styrofoam, which is terrible. Thank you very much, and I look forward to what your ordinance is going to be, and the inclusiveness, including residents and businesses in particular. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Conversely, I will submit to you that you've already given about a half a dozen reasons why we do not need an ordinance. You have already said you're undergoing an entire change in your habits of going into a grocery store, a convenience store, saying, I don't need that bag, I'll just put it in my handbag. And I don't need that. Happens to me all the time. I have a car full of reusable grocery bags. I wouldn't think of going to the grocery store right now without using my reusable bags, whether they're from a charity or an organization or wherever they came from. And I do all my grocery shopping with them, no matter where I go.
I know you do, and
right, I understand that. So this is a sea change in the mentality of how we're looking at it. You've already said Starbucks is making changes, Trader Joe's is making changes. You're aware of various other commercial uses that are making changes. This is the way things happen. And as I said to you outside, Len, it's education, not legislation, that's going to make a change in our habits. If you walk in and tell somebody that they got to pay an extra 5 cents for a bag, they're going to pay it and they're not going to care, and they're going to take the bag and they're going to go and do whatever they do with it anyway. It requires education, it requires a sea change in mentality. It's not a legislative thing that's going to change things. How many municipalities do we have in New Jersey? 586?
565.
565. I should know because you're so qualified in your municipal qualifications also. 15 communities have engaged in? 50. 50. Okay, so you've got 10% on board who are thinking that legislation is the way through this so far. I will contend to you that it is absolutely 100% not the way to get things done. If you're going to talk about people getting a 5-cent charge, they're going to pay the 5 cents, take the plastic bag, walk away, and it's going to end up in our recycling stream anyway, in our waste stream anyway. It'll be hanging from a tree or floating in the ocean anyway.
Well, they wouldn't be
You've got
paying...
to get people on board with this psychologically. That's what we have to do.
They wouldn't be paying 5 cents for a plastic bag because plastic bags wouldn't be allowed.
Plastic bags won't be allowed. I thought you were
Single-use
saying.
plastic bag,
Well, who's determining what a single-use plastic bag is? If I get a
the
plastic bag
ordinance
from.
would.
But who's to tell me? I don't use plastics once. I use them over again. If I get a plastic bag from some place, I use it around my house. I use it to dispose of other things. People use it for dog waste.
But if you're using it, you're using it. What we're looking to do is to have businesses to stop providing them time and time again. And you're right, education, is a big component of this.
Sure. How about a sign that says, do you really need that bag?
Yeah, and you look at...
And that's part of it, and
Sure
it's a
it is.
multi-pronged approach.
Yep, it's a multi-pronged approach. If you
multi-pronged.
look at Stop and
Let's not start by
Shop...
making a law. That should be the last resort.
It is a last resort, but I will tell you that Starbucks began its campaign to start ridding itself of plastics because of the law passed by the state of California.
That's great.
That mandated it.
That's not us in Chatham Township. California could not be further from Chatham Township.
We're not above doing the right thing.
Do the right thing, and as a last resort, you make a law.
All right, so that's great. So any other comments from the committee members?
Yeah, I'd like to say, I think you're doing exactly the right thing. I think it's a balance of education and enforcement. I think that I and many of the people here in the audience and probably at home participated in recent years in the Environmental Commission's cleanup efforts, and it's stunning what that group of volunteers pulls out of the woods, whether it's down along the Pacific River or over in Green Village, where they've done it in different years. It is bags and bags and bags of much of it plastic. And I think that if we can, one of our roles as the Township Committee is provide leadership. And I think if we can send a message that this is the new normal and what's expected, I think that will have an effect. And I think that to couple it with education and moving forward with getting businesses as part of the effort. Obviously, a lot of businesses are seeing it that same way themselves. So I think it's we're much more productive to try to do it in a unified way rather than to expect people to all individually have an awakening. I think we need to have this kind of a combination of education and push.
And that's another reason why we came together as a group, because we thought, wouldn't it be fantastic if all of our towns had the same approach? So this way,
Right.
Yes, consistency.
there's consistency among neighboring towns.
Okay. All right, Len Resto
Thank you for your attention.
and Jessica Romeo.
I think
Thank
that.
you.
Thank
Bob
you
ha-
for your
I think Bob has a
presentation.
question.
You have a question, Bob?
Wait,
Bob has a question.
say
No,
your
you-
names and you will receive a question from Bob Hoppe.
Okay.
It's fine for people to applaud, I can wait for that. I read with interest that there was a high school student that started a bag collection program at the high school for single plastic bags.
Right.
Is that something that the Environmental Commission can help with for here? Because we have people that come in and pay taxes on a quarterly basis. We
We-
have the seniors that come in and use this.
I think it's something we could look at. It's the Trex program. And so a number of the churches in town have done that. The library had just recently done it, and I know Kara managed it at St. Pat's. And she can tell you, it's a lot of work. People will sometimes put dog poop in this box, and
Well, we
it's a
don't
lot
want
of
that-
work.
We don't want that inside, but we have it outside, yeah.
But it's a nice idea, and I'm sure it's something we could bring to the municipal building.
Yeah, and the faith community has adopted it. They have a bags to benches program. So when they collect 500 pounds of plastic bags, they get a bench in return. But you're only allowed one, so what they do is they get their bench and they switch it to the next church, and they keep rotating, and it works very well.
Well, we would be interested in doing this being a collection point, so somebody else could pick it up, and then whoever needs a bench, they can take our donation. But with 1,000 people coming in on a quarterly basis to pay taxes or to their water bills, this
Yeah, but they're
might be
putting
ideal.
a bin in the borough, so that's a great idea.
I would like to put, if we could, put a box next to it for donations of reusable bags as well. Give or take one, leave one. Yeah,
Okay.
Try that.
thanks.
Thank you for your presentation, and we're looking forward to opening a constructive discussion and conversation about this, and good dialogue, and I'm looking forward to put that on the agenda at some point in the near future as a discussion item for the committee. All right, so now we're moving on. We have the hearing of citizens and petitions, and this is an opportunity for any member of the public to be heard about the issues which are not topics of scheduled for public hearings tonight. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers will be limited to 5 minutes. So you can speak with anything but the ordinances and the public and the discussions that will take place, public discussions take place individually, which means we have 4 ordinances coming up. Don't talk about those, talk about anything else. All right, so who wants to speak? The next governor of New Jersey. Introduce yourself, please.
I spoke last week about the skate park, and I'm here to talk about it again. Oh, Sam Kelleher,
The address.
and 143 Huron Drive. And the skateboarding community would like to know the locations of the possible skate park relocation sites. The skateboarding community would like to make sure that the new skate park is at least the same size as our current park. The town could build a larger regional size skate park to host skateboarding competitions. Chatham Township would make money by hosting these competitions and use that money for other parts of our town. If the town built a regional skate park, it would be a hit. There is no regional skate park for miles in any direction in New Jersey, so lots of people would go, tournaments be held, and the town will make money. The skateboarding community suggests using concrete on the new park, as it requires less maintenance than the true ride ramps, and it will be cheaper in the long term. The concrete will cost more upfront, but in my opinion, that would be okay because it'd be very low maintenance costs. That should cost between $350,000 to $500,000 to build the concrete park. The pro skateboarding community is watching our town's decision closely. My mom wrote to several pro boarders and got an email from Tony Hawk's team. They said that the new park should be built with concrete instead of the true ride ramps because concrete is low maintenance and cheaper in the long run. Here's the copy of the email received by Tony Hawk's team. In the letter, they say that they've been aware of our skate park and issues since the ramps were installed in 2003. They're aware of all the issues and repairs the town has had with these ramps. Chatham can apply for a grant at the Tony Hawk Foundation to get money to help rebuild our park. We could use this money alongside with money from the open space grant Chatham Township has already received. The skateboard park is a healthy part of our community. Skateboarding is a cheap, fun, and healthy sport. Skateboarding offers a community to kids who are not involved in other town sports. If you do not rebuild the skate park, it could be financial discrimination against kids who cannot afford tennis, golf, hockey, or other big sports in our town. Skate parks also reduce drug use in teens because it gives them a place to go and an activity to do. Please keep our community healthy and happy by relocating the skate park to another location in Chatham. You are not alone. My mom wrote to the entire committee and offered our assistance to rebuild the skate park, and we did not receive a response from anyone. We want you to know that we are willing to help rebuild this skate park. Please let us know what we can do to help rebuild a skate park in Chatham, New Jersey, that is the same size as the current park. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Just the right height. Kara Fieser, 3 Falmouth Road. So to follow up on 2 weeks ago, I was here talking about the need to keep our playing fields safe and healthy for all the kids that play on them by staying with our non-toxic means of controlling weeds. To follow up on that, Bob and I met a few days ago and had a very long and I think productive discussion to try and come up with some solutions to, in the long run, keep our fields safe, and at the same time get the current weeds under control. And after some lengthy discussion, I would say not happily, but being aware of circumstances, we've talked about doing a rescue type treatment for the fields in which a one-time application of conventional herbicides would be used with the hope of getting everything under control due to a couple reasons. One, when the fields were inherited in the last spring from the conventional herbicide company to organic, there was more weeds than expected that was inherited, as well as the fact that this spring we had a very, very rainy season and there was no treatments on the field at all, which led to a lot more manifestation of weeds currently. So to get that under control, to be cost effective, we talked about doing this rescue treatment of the herbicides one time, and from there move on to organic care for the thereafter and hopefully very long-term duration of our playing fields. The one thing in terms of clarification that I would when this comes up during discussion is what exactly that looks like. So I understand that a rescue treatment that may be, if it doesn't work properly the first time, like let's say it rains or something, it may take a second application. However, what I would like, want to know some more clarification on is, does this mean that the organic company takes control in the spring? Because if that's the case, I think that this may not be beneficial to controlling the weeds, because if we just do a one-time, if necessary, two-time rescue treatment, then the end of summer, beginning of fall application of a fertilizer would not be had. And I think that that's crucial to stay on schedule and not just do a weed killer treatment, do aeration and seeding, but to continue to maintain other things like the fertilizers. Now, if the organic company did not do that and you're going to stick with the conventional herbicide method, well, now we're not talking about a rescue treatment anymore. So now it's, now we're talking about multiple treatments. So I just wanted to see if we could get some clarification around that. And then secondly, I know the current landscaper, ideally he would love to see the fields at 5%. For him, best is less than 5% weed burden on the fields. When he inherited that, it was more than that. My question is, if we go and do the chemical treatments right now, my question is, they weren't able to get that at the below 5% in the past. That was inherited with more than 5% weeds. So how are we going to say that, okay, like we're at an optimal level of weed control? Are they going to be able to do that? Because they haven't been able to do that all those years. Are they going to be able to do that successfully now in a shorter window? I just don't want to see this drag on, and in the springtime we're here and we're saying, oh, it just needs a few more applications, like, and pointing fingers, oh, because it started out, like, I don't want to go down this whole path. So how do we define that? Obviously, the township was okay with the weeds that were there in 2017. Last year in 2018, both years were, I would never, there was no complaints. They were not 5%, they were probably 15%. So how do we, what is our threshold? Do we really have to stay at this 5%? How are we defining this? And I believe that is all my questions. Oh, and I do want to also, actually two more things. How do we guarantee that we are going to definitely move over to organic? Like, how do we get reassurance that we aren't going to stay with conventional methods? And also, when we do any of these rescue treatments, want to make sure that at Colony Pool, we do this after the season is over, on our playing fields, that we really, really work with the recreation department to make sure that children are not on the fields, maybe shifting games to different fields, to the school, proper big signage, communication in newspapers to really make sure that kids are not exposed immediately after. Thank you.
You can either respond now or we have a discussion. We're gonna, because this is out of consent and we're gonna discuss this later.
Correct.
Okay, so then we'll move on with the next person.
Also the right height. Maureen Kelly, 67 Mountain Avenue. I want to speak in support of the legislation that should be enacted to ban the plastic bags. Right here in this town, we somehow felt it very necessary to ban any recreational marijuana that might be coming to town. I would certainly argue that plastic bags are probably way worse on a global scale than recreational marijuana. And yet we passed that with nobody dissented. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. Next person, please.
Hi, Jennifer McNally, 19 Ferndale Road. And I have a quick question. I was excited to hear about the pickleball court lines being drawn on the tennis courts. I just had a quick question. In the About a month ago, the tennis team came, though, to the meeting and spoke about the state of the courts and that sort of thing. Have any of you had a chance to go down and check out the courts for yourselves to see the condition of the courts?
Yeah.
So, go ahead, sorry.
I think I know I did. I think we all did, went and looked at the courts. And Mike LaSousa has been more than happy to meet with us. It's just been getting a meeting time. We're doing that on Monday at 1:30. Bob contacted, all I can think of is Vince. Who's the guy, who's the business administrator?
Peter Tequila.
Peter Tequila, good lord. Peter Tequila, and they're replacing the windsocks that were held together with duct tape.
Right.
I think those weird basin things that were rusted out, I think that they might have been removed by now.
I'll have to check in. We were trying to figure out who the owner was.
Who the owner was of those and, right, and what they were.
Okay.
So, yes.
Okay, so my quick question though is that you guys mentioned putting the pickleball lines on the courts now. So to be fiscally responsible though, we're going to spend money to put lines on the courts now, but we may potentially resurface those courts. So I don't know how much it costs to put lines like that for pickleball down on the courts, but if we're going to spend the money to resurface the courts, they'll do the lines for the courts when they resurface them, and then they can do the lines like that as part of the resurfacing lines, right?
It would be temporary.
Okay.
Because the courts wouldn't be playable for the boys or girls teams if they had pickleball lines on the courts.
Okay.
So think about it as you and I,
Right,
I play
I
tennis,
play,
you
yeah.
play tennis, you can't have multiple lines
Oh,
on the court.
so why
and then
play, they have
somebody-
pickleball lines on the,
What?
they have all sorts of different lines on courts for games, so, okay.
I think the general
Okay.
feeling was from the
Okay,
boys
that's
and
good to
girls
know,
team,
yeah.
when we reached out to them about this idea in the spring,
Mhm.
was that they would obviously not want extra lines
probably-
on the courts. I don't know if that would be compatible with NJSIA rules too.
Right.
I don't know if that's true or not, whether it's just recreational tennis leagues, they don't care,
Right.
they know the lines. But Mike has been more than willing to discuss this issue with us, so I'll have an update after we meet with him at our next meeting.
Okay, because I know we're always concerned about our fiscal responsibility here, so I was just curious if we're going to resurface the courts, when we can get that
It
done
would
for
be-
free.
It would be temporary.
Right, okay, great. And I guess my other question is, there's a quick resolution that I didn't understand. We can ask that, about that question, to 2019-142. It was a contract for financial consulting services. I was just curious on that because it was sort of, and if you look in the notes, it wasn't clear. So I don't know if you can add clarity to that for people or not, or if that's something. That was my question.
Would you like to, Phoenix Advisors, I think this is.
The skate park
Mm-hmm.
was declared an area in need of redevelopment.
Mm-hmm.
At the skate park, an affordable housing development is proposed. The skate park, as I think you're aware of, has been designated as an affordable housing zone for at least 20 years. So this has been something that has been on the public mind for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Part of any affordable housing development is the municipality does not build the development. The municipality chooses a developer,
Mm-hmm.
and in this case, it's the same developer as the Dixie Dale developer, because the two are interrelated. There is in order to make the development work, because it is 100% affordable, rents are lower than the market rents, there are certain contributions or certain amount of cooperation that's given by the municipality. One of them is donating the land on which the affordable housing would be built. The other is consideration for a payment in lieu of taxes program. And so the developer of the skate park has proposed a payment in lieu of taxes program for that property or that development. And this financial consultant will help the municipality analyze that proposal. And so that financial consultant, while working for the municipality, will be paid from an escrow that the developer contributes to. So the purpose of this is to analyze the payment in lieu of payment in lieu of taxes that's proposed for the skate park.
So is this something typical with an affordable housing that's tied to development? Is this in other towns, or is this sort of a one-off situation?
No, the things that I have described here, the municipality donating the land, the municipality participating in a pilot or payment in lieu of taxes program are standard methodologies or ways that a municipality participates in the affordable housing, creating that or dealing with that affordable housing market.
Okay.
It's nothing new.
Okay.
It's not unique to Chatham Township.
Just out of curiosity, because I wasn't familiar with it. I guess my other question is about the skateboard park and the developer. When we came up here and spoke about the skateboard park earlier, it's a substantial investment, obviously, from the community. It's happened once before. The community's rallied together and had leadership to get people together to participate in raising funds. Would there be any way, since we are working with this developer, right, we've given them the land to do the skateboard park, would there be any participation that the developer would have part of this financial sort of contribution from the developer to come to this, because they are going to be able to develop their 54 units and they are going to have their 24 unit, affordable housing? Have we put on the rack to the developer of any sort of contribution from them to help this get started? Is that an option?
Well, I know that the planning board is discussing options with respect to the skate park with the developer. And I believe it would be inappropriate for me and the Township Committee to have a discussion about any negotiations with the developer until there is the need for a public hearing. So the answer is, I know the planning board is looking at what to do with the skate park in terms of this development, and if that is an item that is negotiated, then that will be presented to the Township.
Can that be a point of negotiation? I mean, is that something?
I'm not negotiating with you.
Right, I didn't ask you, I just am asking if it's a potential,
No. The answer
it's
is,
sort of a mystery, right?
No.
Okay, well, okay, I have one last question.
If I could just insert on that topic.
Yeah.
The planning board will be meeting next on Monday, July 1st.
Okay.
It's a public meeting. They are covering, they've moved temporarily from the skate park application to the Dixie-Dale application, which is a 53-unit development of great significance to the township, and certainly ask everybody to mark their calendar for keeping close tabs on these kinds of questions.
Right, excellent, thank you. Quick question, though. This just pertains to, he had taken up on my last minute. We had mentioned before in the beginning of the meeting about the vandalism at Shunpike Park. I was wondering if there are copies of police reports or things we could find out more about the details about the past vandalism at Shunpike Park, because I'm not sure people are familiar with the issues that were, for a while ago, of the whole Shunpike Park vandalism issues. Are there police reports we could see, or is there some sort of substantiation about the vandalism that was at Shunpike Park that led to this lockdown?
We'll have to look into that. I mean, some of the vandalism goes back several years, and this is all new, so, this is information that has come to the township in the last 48 hours.
Right. So I was just curious, because nobody has been familiar with the vandalism.
Well,
so.
I think you can also assume, in my years of having my son play baseball down in Nashfield, and when the toilet paper is all gone, people will flush hand towels down the toilet. That's a terrible problem.
Maybe plastic bags down the toilet, right?
Maybe plastic bags. We've had this review when we talked about our sewer plant. They're flushing T-shirts down the toilet.
Right.
But just in terms of improper use of a bathroom facility, graffiti.
So we can educate people about it, though, right? We can educate
well, of
about
course,
it?
But
Right,
the other thing
educate
is,
first?
Now it's
Then legislate?
incumbent upon us whether to lock them when we leave. You open them when there's an event.
So
Lock
what
them
if,
when
what
they
if we
leave. We're at
educate
9
the,
minutes.
right, but what if we
Yeah, we've
educate the
already
teams,
finished.
where we educate the teams to do it? Educate before you legislate, right? So before we lock down the bathrooms, why don't we talk to the teams, right? And have this so everybody can have a bathroom. I've never seen it unlocked, but very quickly,
No,
back to
but
the
as far
legislation.
as actual police reports about the graffiti and all of that, I don't think we've gone that far. You clean up the darn
Right,
mess
well,
and you move along.
'cause these are-
We had kids breaking windows and setting fires at the high school last year.
Right.
It's just,
I hope that we have reports on that.
well, we certainly do.
Yeah.
Of course we do.
And just very quickly, in touching base on about the plastic bags versus the marijuana, we were quick to pass legislation in this town for something that was coming down from Trenton. That was a law that wasn't even passed, but yet we passed a resolution here about this marijuana thing going on in New Jersey last year. It wasn't even a law. We had a year to do it after the law was passed by the governor, but yet we legislated that here. So we're so quick to turn around and want to legislate against plastic bags.
I think legislating the distribution of a product for sale is a lot different than
than plastic bags getting turned on turtles'
100%.
necks.
I don't think
Okay,
there's-
I just wanted to ask about
I don't
that.
think there's a correlation to be drawn.
Okay, but we put a law into effect here for something that wasn't even in effect on a state level, so I'm just curious about that. So thank you. And now my time is up.
It was up a while
Up twice.
ago. He's got the gavel.
For all the hours I said.
10 minutes. You have minus 5 minutes, sir. All right, please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Mayor Sullen, committee members. My name's Paul Krieg, and I'm a homeowner in the township at 91 Myersville Road. I'm pleasantly surprised by the focus on township recreation facilities in this meeting. I think it's a good thing, but I'd also highlight that it's a warning sign. We are at least talking about the problems here, but I would also suggest that this is a sign of deterioration that you should take as a warning. Things are getting worse, and they're not getting better. All of the township residents have benefited from the quality of life that we have. It's due to the schools, the small businesses, and the people. Recreation facilities, however, are getting worse due to our neglect. The refusal to both perform maintenance, we should actually put toilet paper in the bathrooms. We should weed the fields. And to perform broader upgrades is hurting us. To the committee woman's point earlier, voters in the Chathams have voted bonds and raised funds to create a few showpiece parks. I'm concerned that the township has let its role lapse, taking advantage of private or education funds in particular. It's not sufficient to have 1/2 of a full-time employee for Chatham Township Rec. The DPW efforts need to be better targeted and more consistently applied. Last week, while playing on Esternay, the referee for the Chatham United team, or the referee for the game, chastised the Chatham United coaches, myself included, that the quality of the field continues to deteriorate. He cited potential legal risk due to potential injury threats that are there at the site, as well as the relatively poor playing conditions, even compared to municipalities without our resources. Esternay doesn't drain and never has. There are also significant rock outcroppings in the fields. There's very significant weed coverage, which has pre-existed any move towards organic. There's no attempt to reduce the brush near the benches, which create tick risks. There are 6-foot fences, which means that when a ball goes over the goal, which happens frequently with 9-year-olds, that the ball goes into the woods and somebody has to go get them. Relative to the comment about vandalism at Chump Lake bathrooms, I would highlight that we have been unwise to build facilities and then not use them lest they actually suffer wear and tear. We routinely close grass fields when they are wet and turf when there is snow, while neighboring towns open them. Vandalism can be policed and managed short of shutting down facilities. We have full-time employees at the township level, and they should be broadly used to steward our resources rather than delegating that to volunteers. Paying millions in capital costs and then cutting back on $100,000 maintenance is very short-sighted. Neglect at Esternay is one symptom of this town should be having openly rather than in private Facebook forums. Some committee members think that they should keep the municipal tax component as low as possible, regardless of what that does in pushing burdens elsewhere. Some of you want to defund everything possible. Others believe that taxes should fund some communal items like rec fields. You should bring this out. This should be a township issue, not done behind closed doors by 5 members. The town is booming. Ratables are up significantly. Tax rates remain relatively low. But some seem to think that the low taxes are the reason, rather than the quality of life that our investments have brought. Finally, 2 other points. Further to the skate park, Mountain View would make a great site for it. We have a baseball park that's never used. Would make a great skate park. Finally, in the context of the entanglement between Dixie-Dale and affordable housing, I agree with all of the standard parts about affordable housing. However, the entanglement between the 2 developments should have never been allowed. That created zoning benefits to Dixie-Dale that were required because of the affordable housing requirements. Should have been viewed on a market rate basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else from the public? Yes. Please introduce yourself with your address, please.
Honourable Mayor, committee members, my name's Ted Lestrange. I'm not a resident of Chatham. My address is 43 Prospect Hill Road, Cuddybackville. That's upstate New York. This is way off topic. It's about external affairs. Is that okay? To speak on that?
Sure.
Sure. I've entitled this Genocide by Scalpel, because that's the title given by one of the investigators into forced organ harvesting in China. Their updated research concludes China's hospitals transplant between 60,000 and 100,000 vital human body organs each year, but China has no real organ donation program. Here in the US, with the most sophisticated organ transplant system in the world, a patient can wait 2 to 3 years just for a matching organ to become available. In China, the waiting time is measured in weeks. An organ transplant tourist to China, including one from Chatham, can arrange a specific date for their operation. But that effectively means that someone had to be dispatched on their behalf on that date. It's a cultural taboo to donate one's organs after death in China. So what's the source of all these organs? Translation of these facts equates to tens of thousands of prisoners of conscience each year being killed for their organs. Most of these prisoners of conscience are Falun Gong practitioners, but also Tibetans, Uyghurs, and House Christians. They're routinely blood tested and their organs examined while held in China's forced labor camps, detention centers, and black jails. I do have a quote here. On June 13th, 2016, the U.S. House of Representatives unanimously passed Resolution 343, which in its summary section, quote, condemns the practice of state-sanctioned forced organ harvesting in China, close quote. The European Parliament has also passed similar resolutions. This has been happening for over 19 years. There's still a deathly silence on this issue. And that's why I come before you, the elected and respected representatives of the community, to wake up the heavy burden of this genocide as acknowledged by the House. China has total control of its own media and way beyond that. So it comes down to word of mouth to divulge what's happening. Many dedicated researchers have gathered an enormous amount of data from current and archived hospital websites, medical journals, local media reports, telephone surveys, and other evidence for the over 1,000 hospitals in China that perform these organ transplants. Some books are now being written and documentaries have been produced with more comprehensive information, so I brought along a package of materials for your kind attention and a proclamation request. And I thank you very much for your kind attention. Should I drop these up?
You can give them to the clerk.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can. Appreciate it, thank you. And anyone else from the public? Okay, now we have 4 final adoption of ordinances on the agenda. I am going to start with number 1, Ordinance 2019-10 lot grading ordinance. And John, would you like to give us some background on this, quick background?
Yeah, Mayor, we discussed this multiple times with the committee regarding these are revisions to the lot grading ordinance to really reinforce, being able to reinforce enforce for making sure the ordinances are being followed and various difficult technical upgrades in the ordinance. So it's really just looking at what issues have arisen over the last couple of years and modifying the ordinance to better handle those issues.
Okay, great. Thank you. And
Mr. Mayor, if I may just add one thing. Sure. Because this is a land development ordinance, this was referred to the planning board for master plan inconsistency determination. And on June 3, 2019, the planning board reported as follows, and I will read the conclusion. The Chatham Township Master Plan seeks to protect neighborhood character, mature vegetation, and steep slopes, and to avoid the creation of soil instability. The lot grading plan requirement advances this goal, and based upon this review, the planning board finds that ordinance number 2019-10 is not inconsistent with the master plan and recommends its adoption. Based upon the planning board's review of that ordinance, you have jurisdiction to hold the public hearing and adopt the ordinance if you so choose.
Great, thank you, Council.
That memo was previously distributed to the committee.
Okay, great. And I'm opening the floor to the public for this particular ordinance. If you have any comments, please come up and speak. No? Okay, then do I have a motion to close the floor to the public and adopting the ordinance as introduced?
So moved.
Anyone second it?
Second?
Any discussions of the committee? Greg, roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Ness?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Mayor Slid?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Greg. And the next ordinance, we have 2019-11 multi-purpose bond ordinance. And Bob, quick recap or feedback?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is our multi-purpose capital bond ordinance. It will provide funding for several items, including equipment for the Department of Public Works, and also funding for two fire trucks for the Chatham Volunteer Fire Department, and then some other aspects as well, including potentially lights at Nashville.
Great, thank you, Bob. I'm opening the floor to the public for this particular ordinance. If you have any comments, please come up and speak. Okay, do I have a motion to close the floor to the public and adopt the ordinance as introduced?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussions from the committee? Roll call vote, please. Greg?
Mrs. Ness?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Mayor Slid?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next ordinance on the agenda is 2019-12 Do Not Knock ordinance. So before I open it to the public, I would like to go to Albert, if you can give us some quick recap.
Mr. Mayor, this is an ordinance that authorizes the creation of a do not knock, do not drop off list. Residents of the town voluntarily would enroll or register on this list, and as each time a peddler, solicitor, or canvasser came to the municipality for a license or a permit, they would receive that list and know that the properties on the list should not be approached.
Okay, great. Thank you, Al. And the public discussion, I'm opening floor to the public discussion for this particular ordinance. Anyone would like to come up and speak about this? Nope. Okay, do I have a motion to close the floor? Oh, you do? Okay.
No,
please,
no, no,
go ahead.
I just have a couple of questions.
We'll get to the
Yes,
discussion.
thank you.
We'll get to this. Okay. So do I have a motion to close the floor to the public and adopt the ordinance as introduced?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Now we can have the discussion. Yes, please.
Do we have an idea of what the signage looks like that is going to be available for people's homes? Any idea?
It's in second.
I know there is a signage.
There's a form of sign in the ordinance, section 4A-1.6B. 4A-1.6A has what the form would look like.
Okay. Anyone else? Anything else?
The other thing is the idea of passing this knowledge on to a new homeowner. Does it automatically go with the home, or does the new homeowner, is it incumbent upon the new homeowner to then add themselves, since the only information available is actually the address?
Well, what will occur is, again, 4A, 1-5A addresses that, and it says, once a premises is registered with the clerk, the property may only be removed from the registry by the property owner submitting a written request to the clerk or as a result of the sale of the property.
Okay.
So it will, mechanically, the county clerk does send copies of the deeds to the municipality. When the clerk receives that new deed, it would...
I'll have to have the tax assessor. I don't receive deeds, so I'll have to...
I said that when the township receives the deed. Yes, you can coordinate that with the tax assessor. So when it specifically says, or as a result of the sale of property, it's removed from the registry.
So it's removed. Okay, great. Got it. Thank you.
The new property owner would have to make that election.
Right, and I read it, but I wasn't quite sure if that was the interpretation. Thank you, Albert.
Great, roll call vote, please.
I'd just like to quick note that, assuming it's adopted, the ordinance doesn't become effective until publication of the notice of final adoption, at which time I'll have a form ready to post on the township website for anyone interested to fill out to get on the list. So are you ready for the roll call?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Mrs. Ness?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Mayor Slin?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And the next ordinance on the agenda is 2019-13, sewer bond ordinance. Bob, would you like to give us some?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is a bond ordinance for $325,000 for the for our sewer utility. So this would be to replace a tank that's underground, to remove that tank, install a new tank above ground so that it meets the new DEP standards. This is also something that is for our sewer utility, so it's funded through our sewer utility, so it's Utility 1 and Utility 2, and this is
excellent.
It's just for those people who are able to make use of the sewer. Not septic.
Thank you, Bob. And I'm opening the floor to the public for this particular ordinance. Anyone would like to make any comments on this particular ordinance? All right, do I have a motion to close the floor to the public and adopt the ordinance as introduced?
So moved.
Second.
Any committee discussion?
I would just like to remind folks to respect the sewers. It costs so much to run our sewer system. This is just evidence. And obviously these tanks are not directly related to what people are flushing down the toilet. This is something different, but we went through the litany of all that. And just once again, a plea to respect the wastewater plants here in our township because these are ours. It doesn't, what happens in Chatham stays in Chatham Township. That's my buzz phrase for that.
Okay. Thank you, Karen. Roll call vote, please, Greg.
Mrs. Ness?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Mayor Slin?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Now we're moving on to the consent agenda. And what consent agenda is, the routine items that may be passed by a single roll call vote. Any committee member may call for a separate discussion or vote on any item. As you remember, number 2 on the agenda, which is Resolution 2019-131, was removed from the consent agenda to be discussed separately. And did we change anything else? No, we didn't. Okay.
Mayor, I would like to make one notation. Resolution 2019-139, authorizing grant application for Noe Avenue improvements. When I spoke with Mr. Rushke this afternoon, he reminded me that the impression that we got from the committee at the last meeting was to apply only for one grant for road improvements, so as not to compete against ourselves. So I do not have a resolution prepared for that at this meeting.
Okay, so we're removing that from the agenda, consent agenda. But we're not removing the 2019-131. It's a separate discussion.
Oh, yeah, 131 will be a separate discussion and a separate vote, but the remainder of the resolutions are still on.
Okay, excellent. So then maybe you want to
I'll read
go
the list.
over quickly and we can vote on those.
Yes, so Resolution 2019-123, canceling overpayment of taxes. 2019-133, receipt of reports. 2019-134, approving meeting minutes. 2019-135, approving executive session minutes. 2019-136, refunding overpayment of taxes. 2019-137, appointing member to Recreation Committee. 2019-138, renewal of liquor licenses. 2019-140, authorizing bidding for snow plowing services. 2019-141, notice of intent to award contract under a national cooperative purchasing agreement for fire apparatus. 2019-142, awarding contracts for financial consulting services. 2019-143, authorizing prorated refund for Colony Pool membership. 2019-144, amending 2019 budget, Clean Communities Grant. 2019-145, amending 2019 budget, New Jersey American Water Grant. 2019-146, amending budget, Shunpike Sidewalk Replacement Project Grant. And 2019, 147, amending budget, Shunpike Sidewalk, Falmouth to Pine Street grant.
Okay, great. Thank you, Greg. And do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So
Nope.
moved.
Seconded?
Second.
Okay, great. Any committee discussions?
I would just like to point out, when it says authorized bidding for snow plowing services, that we do, of course, in Chatham Township, provide, by and large, all of our own snow plowing. We have great equipment, great snow plow operators, but there are occasional neighborhoods throughout the township that call for subcontracting. So it's not as though we have a whole gamut of extra plowing needs. We take care of most of it ourselves. There are just a few pockets throughout Chatham Township that require having a separate contracted snow plow service.
Thank you, Karen, for
I believe
clarification.
it's only when snow gets over a certain threshold that the subcontract gets called out. Is it, Rich, is it 4 inches? Yep.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
Mayor, I'd just like to point out the significance of item number 11, the purchasing agreement for fire apparatus. That's about $1.1 million for 2 engines for the Chatham Township Fire Department. So they do a great job for us, and this is going to be a purchase with long-time benefits for the town.
Just a correction, Mr. Kelly, you're not awarding a contract.
I'm sorry, did I say that? I didn't.
You're not purchasing anything tonight.
Right,
This is an intent to purchase.
right.
Notice the
Right.
intent.
Yes, I
Right,
read
because
half of it there, but
these
not
are
the whole.
This is one of the steps that's required when you're participating in a national cooperative and getting the benefit of the bulk or the economy of scale on a large purchase.
Very good.
by the nation.
Okay, great. Okay, any other committee members? Any discussions on this consent? No? Okay. And roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Ness?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes?
Deputy Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Mayor Slin?
Yes. So consent agenda passes.
Yes, motion passes, and now you can have the discussion on the resolution 2019-131 regarding the recreation field maintenance.
All right, so that's great, thank you. And now we're going to have a discussion, but before we do that, I need a motion and second, then we'll start discussion. So, and resolution 2019-131, fertilization and maintenance of fields and lawns. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
I second it. You second it? Okay, perfect. Now open the committee discussion, so let's discuss.
I would like to thank everybody for the time that you have spent. Kara, you are so passionate about this. I mean, we all know that. And we know you've spent countless hours doing research and countless hours in conversation and so on. And Bob, thanks. You know, you're new to the game. You know how important this is to us, and you've got experience in organic lawn care. And it's been a long road from the time you started this discussion years ago, Kara. So it's a lot of give and take, and I'm just so proud of the way the community can come together and negotiate and reach an agreement and have cordial civil discussions about a matter that really raises a lot of passion in our community, because we take pride in our community, but we take even more pride in the health of our children. So really kudos to everybody who's involved, and kudos for seeing both sides of the issue. It's really great to see. It really, really is. So thank you, everybody, personally.
I think we kind of might want to start, Bob, where we left off at the last meeting, which was looking at, you've gotten some last minute information. The bids were reformulated so that they were all matching. And we talked about a potential one-time application. So maybe you could kind of start us off with the new numbers, the spreadsheet that you have, the 6-month, the 12-month. I don't know if we just want to talk about the 6-month option to get us kind of going.
Well, if you'd like, I can give an overview, and then we can go into that. At our last meeting, which was on June 13th, there was a discussion about the treatment of our fields and lawns. And just before the meeting began, after 6 o'clock, I had received an updated proposal from one of the vendors for that, and then a follow-up email. And it would have been a disservice to the Township Committee as well as to the vendor if we had discussed it then, because it was tough to look at on a smartphone and then make a decision. So the Township Committee was gracious enough to decide to hold off the discussion until tonight so that all of the proposals could be reevaluated. The 3 vendors were recontacted, and then the Township Committee has in its possession an updated spreadsheet that shows the complete, from basically a 12-month cycle of lawn maintenance. So there's a spreadsheet that shows 12 months. There's also a spreadsheet that shows 6 months, because next Monday is July 1st. So the Township Committee should look at what the projected cost would be to be budgeted for a full year. But in reality, the discussion tonight is what will the township do, if anything, for the maintenance of their fields from the period July 1st through the end of the year, which is 6 months, hence the 6-month spreadsheet analysis. I also wanted to look ahead and see what would be the cost for 18 months. And so there's a spreadsheet that shows the cost of use for 18 months for the 3 different options. The recommendation that the Township Committee has from me is based on discussions with the staff, but also with one of the vendors. I've had discussions with all of the vendors, but just one of the vendors that is a proponent for organic treatment of fields and the long-term success of that of using that treatment. The township is committed to having good fields, and the township is committed to doing it in a quality way, and to do it in a way that is both natural or organic, but also cost effective. When looking at our fields and going back, and I had the benefit of not being here for the last couple of years, so I was able to look and ask questions and not make assumptions, and be able to ask follow-up questions. And the organic program in 2018 was a pilot program, and that was my terminology because it was something that the township tried for the first time, and it was implemented with the understanding that there was going to have to be adjustments made. Hence, it was a pilot project. So one of the assumptions that had been made when the organic program started in 2019 was that there would be aeration and seeding. That would be done by the township, and that didn't occur. There was also the contract was implemented with the understanding that the weed content was lower than it actually was, and then over the course of the treatments, it became apparent that it was the weed content on our fields and lawns was higher than anticipated. So the treatment that was being put down was not going to be effective. One of the vendors is recommending that we do a one-time intervention so that we can reduce the amount of weeds, the volume of weeds. Kara had the right terminology when looking at it, but our goal is to have a sustainability program that's long-term, and we can't be successful unless we do this one-time intervention. And that was a recommendation that came to me from one of the vendors, and I had to reconfirm that a couple of times with him, but that needs to be done so that we can have this intervention, and then we can go ahead and look for a long-term program. one of the questions that had come up, I guess it's called weed burden. Weed burden is what we have. But one of the questions that had come up was, what guarantees do we have about a sustainable organic program? There is no guarantee. That's a policy decision that the Township Committee will have to make. And if the Township Committee makes that decision, then we will carry that out. We will do that going forward in 2020 and beyond. But our goal right now is how do we improve our fields? How do we get rid of the weeds? How do we position our fields and our lawns so that they can accept sustainable products, and we will not be wasting time, talent, and treasure, if you will. And how do we go forward? So,
okay, great.
That's the summation.
I think that one of the questions that I had.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I think that one of the questions that I had in reading all the material and the emails back and forth on this is that in the continued treatment by True Green yielded only a 15 to 20% weed burden. Now we're requiring a 5% weed burden. From a cost perspective, does it make a difference if for the past several years we've had a 15 to 20% weed burden with chemicals, and now we're bidding or requesting a 5% weed burden, which we've not been able to hit? Does that make an adjustment in the pricing for the programs? So if we ask the two organic companies that we've never been able to hit the 5% burden, and that's for a variety of reasons. I don't believe that Estrenay was included in the fields, but Estrenay, as the gentleman mentioned, is just, by its topography alone, being a big swimming pool, a bowl, and is just almost impossible to maintain. And so that's my question, is if we had a 15 to 20% weed burden with the pesticides, and now we're requesting the bid at 5%, if we went back to the 15% weed burden that we had for the past several years, does that make a difference in the price of the programs?
I'm not sure how to answer about the 15 to 20% in the past, because I wasn't here, so I don't know if that indeed was the case. What is being recommended by the NOFRA company is that 5% is where after this treatment we will our fields will be at a 5% content for weeds, and then the organic program will be able to be successful. So if it's at 15 to 20%, what will happen next year is we will have to apply more organic weed control, and that's significantly more expensive than the chemical control. So that one time shot to get it down under 5%.
I guess let me rephrase the question then. If was 5% burden part of the bid process, so they were bidding to achieve a 5% weed burden?
Well, we didn't go out to bid. We went out for proposals, and was the number 5% specifically in there? The answer was this is a recommendation from one of the vendors that for their product to be successful, the initial weed content has to be at 5%. They can have a successful organic program, but it will cost the township more money for treatments if it's at 20%, because they will have to put more content down in 2020.
So
I don't think it's.
I'm a little confused too, but
yeah,
it's probably easy to understand. But now, for this one-time intervention, to get rid of the weeds and bring them down to whatever the number is, let's say 5%, okay, 6% or 4%, whatever. So that cannot happen with organic. So that will have to happen with chemicals, which is, let's say, True Green.
The honest answer is, it can happen with organic, but it would be significantly more expensive.
Okay.
It would be very significantly more expensive. And the organic proposer is recommending that we use this one-time chemical intervention.
Okay.
So to get our fields in to kill a weed so that it's down to that acceptable level.
So that one-time intervention, who would do it?
I'm recommending that True Green do that they do the chemical intervention. I'm recommending that they maintain, that this be done, and that they maintain the fields for the rest of the year. So you're looking at a one-time intervention. You know, if there's rain or something like that, they might have to come back for a second time. But that would be it. They're going to come in, they're going to treat it, and then they would do the seeding, the aeration, and the fertilization. We would go with the policy decision. The Township Committee would give us a policy decision. We would go with that for 2020. But we would not wait in 2020. We would not be waiting until this period of time. We would make sure that we had a contract in place so that it's ready to go in February or early March when they should be out starting their process.
Okay, so you're recommending that we should go with True Green for a short period of time, then go back to organic for longer term.
Yes.
So that's like the, okay.
That's the big picture, yes.
All right, so 6 months with True Green, then moving forward with organic. So whichever the company is that's Lincoln, I think, it's right there.
Yep, if that's the policy decision of the Township.
Okay, and it is costing $10,000 more per year, something like that, right? So the numbers are there.
No.
Tracy,
For the
could you
6
pass?
months. Yeah, I'm just sorry, I've got to minus out something here.
So, okay, so that's the decision we need to make.
Yeah, the decision for the treatment between Lincoln Landscaping and then True Green for the chemical treatment was going to be about $8,200 when we looked at that.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And I was going to intercede on behalf of Mrs. Feaser, but I see she's approaching the microphone to reiterate some of the questions that she had. That is, what if that lawn rescue doesn't bring us down to that required or that recommended threshold, whether it's 5% or whatever it is. So if that initial treatment, do they then come back and say, we fell short of our goal, we're here to do it again, and also the assurance that the kids are going to be completely restricted from using the fields. But Kara, maybe we should let Kara ask the question.
One of the questions that Kara did have was about Colony Pool, and you saw in the
And we
email
did
was that
discuss that.
nothing would happen there until after the pool closed. So mid to late September, there would be a treatment there.
Yes.
Okay.
So, just,
yes.
yeah.
Mike, please.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask for some clarification on the same points you were, Kara. I mean, so I defer to Kara to.
Well, can we just finish the committee discussion, because I'm still confused. After the 6-month proposal, does that include the emergency treatment? Does it include fertilization, seeding, and aeration for that 6-month period?
Yes.
It includes the fertilization as well?
Yes.
So the difference, so that's the 10,198 figure?
Yes.
Correct? The Lincoln Landscaping proposal does not include the emergency treatment, or does it?
It does.
It does. And fertilization, and there was an error in the spreadsheet because it included the cost for the spring aeration on that.
Right, and that was,
So when you, yeah, when you minus that out, the 10,198 is for True Green, And the 13,000, it then goes down to 13,512 for Lincoln.
No, it was when, the difference was $7,000 when we were sitting in the office and we worked that out this afternoon.
Yeah, I don't have the, I just.
Wait, because you're talking about 6 months and he's talking about probably 12 months. I don't know. Are you, it's 6
Can I
months,
have that back?
10,198 versus, okay. It's a lot of numbers going on.
The 6-month price across the board was $10,198 for True Green, $11,285 for Go Organic, and $16,702 for Lincoln Landscaping. However, the spring core aeration was included in those costs.
Yes, and the number that I was referring to is when we calculated what was the cost for the chemicals to be put down. So that was the cost for True Green was less than that $10,000. And when I referred to that $7,100 number, that was the difference between Lincoln Landscaping and True Green for putting down for their chemical treatment.
I got you, because when you print this out, the way we get it printed out, it looks like you should minus the 3,100 spring core aeration from the 16,702. Do you want to just take a quick look at this? Because this is the way it printed out.
But I made some additions after I received it, so I don't want to confuse you. So none of you know what I'm talking about.
So I didn't print it out. I thought we would have the analysis here. So I didn't print it. I only have it on my phone, and I can only access the one page.
But I compiled all 3 pages into one, actually. The numbers below, on the bottom of the analysis, has all the different time frame costs, 6, 12, and 18 months.
Yeah. So
I don't want to misrepresent the numbers. So if the spring aeration for 3190, does that need to be removed from the 16,702, or was that a different number? Because we had discussed a different number.
Yeah, we had just discussed the number for the chemical treatments, and you're right. We backed out. Was it?
That's why I don't have all the sheets, so I don't have the full 6-month sheet.
I will go inside and take a look, but just so that as the township committee knows, the computer in my office
has crashed terribly.
So I'm unable to print, so that was sent out from home, which is a poor excuse.
So I'm the only one who printed this out and brought it with me.
Mike and I were here until 6 o'clock, ran home, ate dinner, and came back.
All right.
So the difference.
Now, how do we decide here?
So there is a difference in the recommendation. There is a difference in the cost for the treatment, the one-time treatment. The recommendation I made still stands. The recommendation that I made also comes after consulting with one of the vendors recommended that his competitor put down the chemical treatment because that was the best value for the township after reviewing all of the steps, and it's just that was the best most cost-effective action that the township could take, and then the fields and the lawns are ready for the future so that we can go organic, and that can be done cost-effectively.
As part of the conversation that you and Mike and I had, the vendor said in an emergency situation that it was okay, certainly not preferable, to blast the fields with chemicals. So I don't want people to think that the vendor said, oh yeah, go ahead, we're organic, but just blast the field with chemicals. It was purely, he was saying, as a vendor, the difference in the costs were such, because these chemicals are harmful and they're cheap and they're plentiful. So by virtue of that, it's going to be much less expensive. I think it was $4,000 versus $12,000. And I think the vendor was just being honest and saying, you know, from a cost perspective, not necessarily from an efficacy perspective, strictly from a cost perspective, that, you know, I can't provide this service any lower than $12,000 because organic management costs more money. So I just want to make that clear. It wasn't from an efficacy standpoint. It was looking at it from a budget standpoint.
No, I agree partially. What you said is true. The vendor was also looking at it to say, this is the quickest way for you to position the township to go organic and be successful. This is the best overall value for the township, so that in the long run, the program that township would take from that vendor or some other organic vendor will cost less over time, because they will be able to concentrate on the aeration, on the fertilization. They will not their method of fighting or killing weeds is on a factor of 9 to 10 times more expensive than what the chemical companies can use.
Okay.
I would like to get that figure though for this. I can't pull it up on my phone in the spreadsheet. So we have the 10,198.92, the 11,285, which also doesn't have the spring aeration taken out of it, and the 16,702, which also does not have the spring aeration. I can't get to those numbers. So it should be about 10,200. It should be about, if I remember from our conversation, it was something like $1,600 for the spring aeration.
It was 15 or 16, yeah.
So that would bring this down to approximately, let's say, $15,000. So we're looking at 10,200. I don't remember what the cost was for the the non-NOFA certified landscaper, and then that would bring down the cost for Lincoln Landscaping to $15,000. So we're looking at roughly a $4,800 difference
for 6 months.
Now, we were looking at the cost. When you're looking at the cost of the chemicals, it was about $3,900 for True Green, and it was more for Lincoln Landscaping. It was over $10,000. But if you want, I'll go into my office and I'll get my notes. But the question becomes, I've made a recommendation. What does the township committee want to do?
One more question.
Yeah, sure.
Let's put the numbers aside for a second. So can the organic treatment bring down the level of weeds as the chemicals? Can it do it?
In and of itself.
It would take much longer and would cost much more money. So
It could, but it's going to cost more.
It's going to cost more, and it won't happen as quickly.
Okay, I see. Okay,
so
that's my question. That was my question.
Okay, I'm sorry to beat a dead horse, but when I asked the question about the different contracts, the emergency weed treatment was included in each of the contracts. The aeration, seeding, and fertilization would happen within each of the contracts.
Correct.
With the chemicals, with True Green, you have to wait 30 to 60 days per our call today in order to do any sort of aeration, fertilization, or seeding. So you have to wait for the results. They're not instantaneous for either company. And since the bids include the emergency treatment, the fertilization, the aeration, and seeding, I would like to not guess on what the cost differential is for the 6-month period. So we've got 10,200, and then whatever the other one is, the non-NOFA, and then we're going to guesstimate it's 15,000 for. So I just want to be clear on what we're what we're actually going to vote on. Because to me, that's a $4,800 difference.
Well, if the township committee would give me a minute, I'll go get my notes from the office and
Sure.
and do that. But what the township committee is considering tonight is a contract for 6 months. That's the recommendation, and the recommendation is to get rid of the weeds and to get rid of them so that we're in a position to embrace a long-term organic concept and have that successful, because we have two companies that are telling us present conditions the organic programs will not be successful going forward. One of the companies is, even though it's got the organic in its name, it's not truly a organic company. It's partially organic and it's partially chemical. So, and we're
Sure.
It's sort of like small, medium, and large. But I'll be right back.
Okay. Excellent. Ken, did you
No,
have
I'm
an
going to
idea?
wait for Bob to
Okay.
come back, but
Okay.
I want to hear Kara reiterate her questions. If I might just say, we give Mr. Hoffman the greatest deference. He's done his research. To be quibbling over a couple of $1,000s to me is a kind of doing his job for him, and he was hired to be our administrator. I'm perfectly comfortable in taking the numbers that he's given us. I know he's going to go back and get them, but with all due respect to his qualifications and the intensity with which he's gone over a $3,000
No, but that's
question,
yeah.
I understand.
Wait,
I understand.
Well,
the
they're
question
not
is
correct.
apples to apples. Are we looking at numbers apples to apples? That's all it is. You know, he's qualified, perfectly qualified. That's not the question. The question
there's
is,
no question about his
are
qualifications.
we looking at apples to apples? That's what it is. So.
And that's something that Mike and I uncovered when we were meeting with him today, and it was a simple mistake. It wasn't anything on purpose, but I think, Karen, anytime that we vote on something, we should be very clear
completely aware of
on
that.
what the dollars are that we're actually going to vote on, and just kind of, I'm not comfortable guesstimating.
Well, we have some dead air here. I guess I'd like to extend some appreciation to the Environmental Commission and to Kara for heading up the effort for doing all the research on this. I think it's a worthy exercise to look into. You know, I think that we did have a couple of questions for clarification from Kara that are legitimate, just to dot I's and cross T's. I think the major question in front of us really is more the philosophical one about whether we want to make the commitment to spend more money in partly this year, but it's while not the commitment of what we're going to do next year, we're giving a signal that this is what we intend to do, and that's going to carry with it extra expense. And I think we're hearing from important research from the Environmental Commission, and I think we've heard other comments from people today that we're not doing the proper maintenance on our recreation facilities. I disagree with that. I think if you look at our recreational facilities overall, I think they're spectacular. I think they're incredibly superior to anything that my children played on in this town and other towns. You know, you look at Shunpike, you look at Nash. They are better than anything I saw as a kid. And so I think that there are areas that need improvement, and I think we appreciate people calling those out to us. But I think in fairness to our administrator and our staff, that I think they're doing an excellent job on the wide range of it as well. So yeah, if we can just clarify some of these remaining questions, I think that we need to make a policy decision.
Great, thank you, Mike. Yes, Bob.
All right, at 5:45 this afternoon, the confirmed cost for putting down the one-time treatment for weed killer from True Green was $3,970.40.
3,400. What did you say?
$3,970.40. Right. From Lincoln Landscaping, it was $12,192.25. And that was one of the reasons why the owner of Lincoln Landscaping recommended that we use somebody else for this one time.
So 12,000 for Lincoln Landscaping, 12,000,
192,
192.
25.
This is for the one-time treatment.
Yeah, this is for all of the fields, the one-time treatments, yes.
So
Yeah, this is not, this is not the 6-month contract. This was a separate item.
this is totally separate than the numbers we looked at. It's
Well,
totally
the numbers
separate.
that you looked at included aeration and things, so this is just
Treatment.
down to the treatment. the
Okay, I
chemical
see.
treatment.
I see what you're saying.
The 6-month included the one-time treatment, aeration, seeding, and that's the number that I was looking for the 3. If we were you're recommending a 6-month program, so I want to look at the costs across the 6-month program that we've corrected for including the spring aeration.
Well, the 6-month program for including the aeration and the fertilization from True Green was the $10,000 number, and then the 6-month program from Lincoln Landscaping was the $16,000 number.
Minus
minus one of Mike had initially recommended two aerations, but you're right. We had to take out one of them, so it was going to be 15 and change once you took it out. 1610.
Okay, I can't.
But the real issue here is the treatment for the weeds, and the cost for the treatment of the weeds. It's $3,970 or it's $12,192. That's the core of the discussion. I made a recommendation to the Township Committee for 6 months, so with one company, so that there's no finger pointing. It's just all done, and then you start fresh in January of 2020. But you have to make sure we have our program in place by February, because whoever the vendor is going to be, they need to have time to start working on the fields, no matter what the weather is. When Lincoln Landscaping took over the fields in 2018, they were given the go-ahead in February. They were given the go-ahead in early April, so they weren't out until late April. And then, apparently there was weather issues, there was other issues, and whoever it's going to be, they need to be ready to go as soon as the fields are able to be, to accept equipment on it, and they can go do their job. But again, right now it's how do you want to treat the fields? How do you want to protect the weeds?
Now, can we have, maybe it's a stupid question, but can we have the True Green do the treatment and not contract with them for any, for duration? Just contract with organic, but have the True Green. But then how do we measure if their system worked, right? That's the question.
That's why I was recommending we just stay with one contractor, and just that way. If you were asking, can one company do the chemicals and then another company come in and do the aeration and the fertilization? The answer is yes. But then
then who's accountable? Yeah.
We may have them overlapping, and what we want long-term success. We don't want finger pointing.
Sure.
We want.
Sure. Can organic match True Green's number?
No. And he was honest about it.
He was honest.
And he's also the one recommending we use True Green.
Bob, we put you in an awkward position without your computer and with the questions here. What's the downside of putting this off till the next meeting? And I mean, weeds will grow, but how, if there's these questions that it seems to me to make more sense to resolve offline rather than kind of work from the way we're working now. What's the downside of doing this over time rather than forcing a decision right now.
Well, if you're going to, our next meeting is July 18th. So if that means that nothing will happen for 3 weeks, so we'll just, the lawns will look like they are, and we'll have the current weeds and clover and things like that, and the downside is if you decide to do it, it's more compressed because you'll be doing some kind of a treatment, but you won't be able to do the aeration. You're going to have to push that off, and when you're into the fall, you might as well not do it at all.
I mean, I'm just hearing a lot of questions up here about the numbers, and if we're really talking about a 1 or 2 application intervention kind of an approach, if we did that 3 or 4 weeks later, then we could do it by doing it, approving it and starting now.
You don't, the Township Committee has the option of making a decision tonight, putting it off, making a decision at the July 18th meeting, or putting it off and making a decision in August. But
maybe we can do it in between, somewhere before the meeting, next meeting. Maybe we can.
I would personally like to move to accept Bob's recommendation and to give him the opportunity to go forward, knowing that the best interests of Chatham Township are his sole intention here, and to say, we know that perhaps while time is not of the essence, timing is important, and to say, let's get the deal in place and let's commence with whatever weed control we can put into place now. And this way we have the best chance for success at doing it before the cool of the evenings start coming into play toward the end of the summer, and a greater proliferation for more weeds to grow. I'm moving that we accept Bob's recommendation.
Okay.
I would just simply like to, I would like to simply understand how much we're actually paying. So is the and I apologize for belaboring this point. So we now have additional costs for the one-time treatment of $3,970.
We don't, that's part of that 10, that's part of the 10,000.
Okay, so it is part of the 10,000. And then the Lincoln Landscaping was the $12,192, but that's part of their $15,000 number?
That is correct.
Okay, so again, let's go back to what we're looking at is about roughly $4,800 difference for a 6-month treatment, True Green versus Lincoln. So that's the question before us. Is it worth $4,800 for 6 months after we've spent a year not putting chemicals on the fields to superdose the fields because weeds are starting to encroach with the weather that we've had, which is like rainforest weather. So that's really the question then we're going to, that's the question before us. Is it, and I don't have the final figure for what Lincoln is, but we're going to estimate it at 15,000, 10,200. That gives me a difference of 4,800. So that's the question before the committee.
Okay.
The question before that's a valid way of phrasing it. That's for the total package. That's for the weed control, the fertilization, and the aeration and the seeding. So the difference between those two is basically it's $5,000 and change. The real significance when you drill down is what is the cost for the chemical treatment. With one of them, it's $3,970.40, and then with the other, it's $12,192.25. So, and then the rest of the difference is in the fertilization and the aeration for the 6 months.
Yeah, it was interesting. The aeration was so much higher with True Green, significantly higher, like $6,000 higher versus $1,500 or $1,600 for Lincoln. So it's interesting how, certain things are much more expensive in one contract than the other. So you have a motion on the table, Karen, to accept the True Green contract.
I have a
For
motion to accept Bob's recommendation.
Now, the motion.
The
on
motion
table- no,
was
no, no,
made
no.
to, some time ago, to adopt a resolution.
Yes.
Motion was made by Karen and seconded by Tracy.
Yep, and I opened.
No, I didn't second anything. I made a comment that I wanted to find out what the.
At the
I
beginning
wanted
of
to
this
look at the
discussion, a
cost.
motion was made by Karen and seconded by Tracy, and then discussion was opened.
Oh,
Okay.
you're right.
So we
I'm
were
sorry.
discussing it, so
So we discussed it.
it's, we will vote on it when the discussion is completed, and we can just complete the discussion or just defer it, and if we defer it, then it's going to be too late probably, maybe. I'm just thinking,
Mr. Mayor, can I make a suggestion?
yes, please.
Can we ask the clerk to read the resolution as in the agenda?
Okay, I'll be back. I have to go print a copy of it.
This way, everyone knows exactly what you're voting on, and that's what you moved and seconded, that resolution. The discussion has been about questions about the numbers, other questions, so let's have the clerk read the resolution, and then I suggest you take a vote on it.
Counselor, may I suggest that Mrs. Feaser take the opportunity to ask a few questions while we're waiting for Greg?
That's not for me to decide, that's
That
for the
is
chair.
actually,
that's for the chair
right
to
now,
decide.
here's the procedure. So now we have public comments section a little later. It's going to be too late because we have to make a decision here, either vote or not vote, right? So now it's not open to the public at this point. It's just the committee discussion and the vote on it. And so what we can, if committee agrees, everyone agrees, then I will bend the rules and have her just say a few words, just for clarification purposes, act as a subject matter expert here, maybe.
I would like that.
Yeah, I think this is not a public comment. This is a
Yeah.
member of the Environmental Commission.
Yes, subject matter expert.
Thank you. Several of them were answered by the four of your questions, but here's my, here's the one thing. So if we're looking at doing a 6-month contract, right? And so the True Green comes in and they do the chemical sprays. Part of that, there needs to be fertilization, right? So we talked about that. Now we're moving away from this whole idea of rescue because the True Greens fertilization, I'm pretty sure it will also have a component of weed control in it. So now we're moving from just this rescue treatment to now truly doing a chemical treatment for 6 months. Now, in the past, they've come like 5 times throughout their season. So does that mean now in that 6-month period, they're gonna come 3 times in that, and then the fertilizer, like, I guess my question is, where does that end with them? And the, if not, like if they were just, so so it moves away from this whole concept of the rescue, something should be done in terms of fertilizer in that like late August, September timeframe. So you don't want to miss that. So it has to be done by one of the companies. It would be preferable if it was done with organic fertilizer. I don't know if the organic fertilizer in the fall includes a weed control component like I know it does in the spring. I'm going to assume it does. So, to me, that needs to be taken into consideration because then it moves away from this whole rescue thing to now, more chemicals.
So
for the fertilizer.
you make it easier, Kara.
So.
It's harder to decide.
I mean, I understand the component of trying to have uniformity, but on the one hand, it also makes sense to just have the spray control done, a one-time deal, and then move over to organic thereafter.
While these guys are discussing, John, I'll ask you a question. Is there anything that we can do to make Esternay any better? Because it's been that way for a long time. And now, this gentleman who was a coach for Chatham United, and the ref spoke to him and said, you're going to have some liability issues here. There's apparently rocks that are cropping up out of the dirt. Do we need to do a walkthrough on the field and see if there's anything that we need to do? I would hate to have anybody get injured on that field.
Certainly, there's opportunities to improve that field with grading, with improving the topsoil. The field just hasn't had attention in years.
Right.
So, certainly that should be something that the committee can look at, and maybe that is a project for the future to look at renovating those fields, and so that they are properly graded and such. Absolutely.
Do we get nervous when we hear
No,
somebody
no,
saying that there's like a
I think
liability
we're-
issue?
No, we're not. We're straying from the question on the table. And I think you've got to bring closure to this, and my suggestion would be is have the clerk read the resolution,
Yes, then
take a
we'll
vote,
Yes.
or table it.
Sure. Go ahead, Greg.
Isn't the resolution in our packets?
Whereas the township solicited four proposals for fertilization and maintenance of the municipally owned lawns and fields, and whereas 3 proposals were submitted to the township, and whereas the proposal from True Green and the amount not to exceed $11,000 was the best overall value, and whereas the effective period of the agreement will be until December 31st, 2019, now therefore be it resolved that the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham formally accepts the proposal from True Green for fertilization and maintenance of fields and lawns in the amount not to exceed $11,000.
Fertilization should be weed control.
Weed control, okay. And if you'd like to make any changes, now would be the time.
I don't have a copy. I can't really get that from reading it.
All right, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. I'll propose that we'll do. We'll open to the vote. Either table it or yes or no.
Before you vote, I'd like to point out that you adopted a bond ordinance for $1.8 million without batting an eye, and this is $11,000, so let's consider that.
It's not about money. It's more than money here, so,
This isn't important, this is a policy decision. So
Yeah.
All comments about it are valid,
Yeah. And I'm thinking if we table it,
Pointing out the dollar value, but this is something that will go over different years.
and
Mr. Mayor, if a motion to table is made, it takes precedence over the motion on the table, and it's non-debatable. So if there's going to be a motion to be tabled, then it should be made, and a vote taken on that, because that motion goes first, not subject to any further debate, and then you take it up at the next
After
meeting.
the motion has been already made and
No,
seconded.
correct. It supersedes that pending motion.
Thank you.
So
we'll vote on it.
Are you going to vote on the pending motion, or is there going to be a motion to table it, and that will go first?
Okay. I will suggest that we table it, but not until July 18th. And we'll have maybe just a special meeting, just not like quick meeting, 4 of us or 5 of us to get together just to vote on it, if that's critical to wait till July 18th. I don't know what the consequences are. I mean, or we just wait till July 18th. So I don't know how bad it is to wait. So if it's not terrible and it's going to cost more not to act, then we should act. So any help from the committee members? I know your position, so you want to...
You always know my position.
I mean, for me, the difference between the 2 proposals to stay on the organic path for $4,800 and not use chemicals for 6 months on our fields and go backwards is worth that money. So I would be voting against the true green 6-month solution.
So you were saying you're not going to be voting for this resolution, so.
No, I don't want to go back to chemicals for 6 months.
All right, let's open up to the vote.
Okay.
Mike, if that's,
So you're voting on the resolution that was read?
that's correct.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, call
Would you like me
the
to?
roll.
Okay. Mrs. Ness?
No.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kelly?
I'm going to vote yes, because I'm concerned that we have input from Lincoln itself advising that for best results, we should go the chemical route. And also, the model procedures allow for this kind of one-time rescue operation, which tells me that even the people who draft these kinds of overall model programs see the need at times to address this kind of a problem. So I'm going to vote yes for this true green option.
Mayor Salen?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, we're going to, let's see where we are. I'm just confused right now. So we're done with the consent. We're done with the fertilization. Now, discussion, possible ordinance or resolution, which we don't have one. Hearing of citizens. Anyone would like to speak? Now, I'm closing the floor to the public. Now, we have the executive session, and we will make a motion to get into the executive session, but Greg, would you like to please?
I'll read the resolution first.
Read it first.
Resolution 2019-P-10, resolution of the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, authorizing conference of the Township Committee with the public excluded, whereas NJSA 10:4-12 of the Open Public Meetings Act permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, now therefore be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Chatham, County of Morris, State of New Jersey as follows. The public shall be excluded from discussion of the specified subject matter. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Litigation in the matter of the Township of Chatham for a judgment of compliance of its third round housing element and fair share plan, docket number MRS-L-1659-15. Personnel matters, Police Department, personnel matter, Department of Public Works. It is anticipated that the minutes on the subject matter of the executive session will be made public upon conclusion of the matter under discussion, and in any event when appropriate pursuant to NJSA 10:4-7 and 4-13, the committee will come back into regular session, may take further action. This resolution shall take effect immediately.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to go into the executive session?
Second.
Greg?
Mrs. Ness?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartz?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Kelly?
Yes.
Mayor Salen?
Yes.
And it is anticipated that the committee will take action following the executive session.